Okay, like, hey, hi, hello. Today I'm running my very own grocery store. I'm coming for you, Costco, Walmart, Target, and guess what? Aldi, you're not even safe. My plan is to dominate the market and become number one by any means necessary. I will find the best vendors in town, even if I have to make some shady deals. My store will always be stocked year round, even if that means destroying the town as we know it. Welcome to Discounty. Let's clock in.
Where are we going?
Discounty.
Like with all great stories, I begin my journey by leaving my entire life behind to take over my family's business. This time, I'm helping my aunt start a grocery store. I meet Aunt Teller, who then takes me over to our store to meet my coworker Grace. Grace basically gives me a simple rundown of how to run the shop. I met Delivery Guy. He will be the one who supplies my store with all his products. Let's get into my first day of running the store. In order to check out customers, I had to know math, like a lot of math. And I don't know math, but luckily you can use the multiplication settings on the calculator in order to check out the customers. After work, Aunt Teller found me and escorted me to my new home, which was just a beat-up trailer stored on her property. But hey, at least I have a place to lay my head at night. The next morning, Aunt Teller waited for me to wake up. Yes, like waited for me outside of my trailer. A little creepy if you ask me, but today is the grand opening of Discounty. I was tasked with putting up posters around town to get more people to come to the store. It appears the people of Bloomcast are really excited for the store to open, as some of them are waiting outside. I met with Grace, who just gave me commands about setting up the store before it opens. Like, she literally could not help me set the store up, and she's supposed to be my coworker. She's already getting lazy. But I didn't let Grace stop me. I started my first official day at Discounty and it went smooth. I got the hang of the math like it was nothing. I'm still a little bit slow, don't get me wrong, but I got the hang of it. After work, I was planning on going out and exploring, but I was sidetracked by a biohazard van waiting for me outside. What is this all about? But before I could even get a thought in, Cornelius appeared. Like, where did he even come from? Why are you bothering me? He told me that there was this weird fog in the forest and that's why they had it all blocked off. But like, I don't believe him, but I have to believe him, I guess. But I really wanted some answers, so I went around Blomkist and talked to the town folks to see what I could find out, but I didn't find out really anything. But that didn't matter because we made it! I've received a newspaper at my front door showcasing my amazing supermarket. As I was leaving, Aunt Teller surprised me. I thought she was going to be happy to hear we made it in the paper. However, she took me to Ted's shop. This is where I had to buy shelves and freezers for Discounty, so I managed to rearrange the store before the day got started, which meant I had another successful day at Discounty. Aunt Teller meets me outside again and she informs me that it's time to start making some business deals. There are 3 vendors in Blomkist that I need to start trades with. Carl, the farmer, Barbara of Fishy Sticks, and Fisher of Fish. So I went out to meet each one of them, starting with the Fisher. He told me there's a monopoly on fish and I needed to talk to Barbara, so I went and confronted her. And she was forcing me to sell fish sticks, which sounds disgusting, but I agreed nonetheless. Then it was time to go meet the farmer, who just so happens to be locked out of his farm. Of course. So I had to go and tell Aunt Teller everything, and she instantly told me about Carl's sheep, which have escaped throughout Blomkast. And that is completely fine because I have been seeing sheep everywhere. So I retraced my steps and found each of the sheeps. I told Aunt Teller, and that's when the plan kicked off. Elmer was big mad about the sheeps, but he agreed to clear the path. The next morning, I met with Carl, who is now allowing me to sell oats at Discounty. I went to set up his oat station when Grace informed me that I have to mop now because she's dirty. I'm actually sick of her and she needs to be fired. Now, because people at Blomkast want to be dirty and throw their trash on the ground, I also have to pick up trash around town. Like, Aunt Teller cannot be serious. Sue these people, because why are you throwing the stuff on the ground? My prayers have been answered. The worst worker in discountee history, Grace, has been officially let go. Sorry for her family as they are down that income, but girl, you weren't doing anything. It was a little bit lonely in the store, but that is not gonna stop us. We are taking discountee to the moon. I went to Barbara to inform her that today we sold all her fish sticks. She actually thought we weren't gonna be able to do it, but she agreed upon our deal, so we unlocked a vendor. I went to go tell Fisher the exciting news that I beat Barbara at her own game and that he's allowed to sell his fish at discountee. I was getting ready to go to work when Aunt Teller told me that we actually don't work on Sundays, which was good to know, and I feel like she could have told us that before, but okay. I went to explore some more of Blomkist, and the first person I decided to talk to was Grace. I wanted to see how she was doing after she got fired, but it turns out she actually has beef with her neighbors. And then it occurred to me I didn't tell Aunt Teller about unlocking each of the vendors, so we went back to talk to her. The next morning, Aunt Teller tells me it's time to expand discountee. But first, I will need to talk to Elmer about the old tea shop. He informed me that I needed to speak with Gina because she's the one who actually owns the shop. So when she came into the shop today, I decided to confront her. She agreed to sell me the tea shop because she didn't want it anymore, so I had to go talk to Derek at the bank. However, when I went into the bank, he was getting yelled at by this woman named Tammy. This is my first time seeing her, but Derek ended up sending me back to Elmer in order to get a permit. I'm very sick of this runaround that they got me playing. And when I went to go confront Elmer, he was also getting yelled at by Tammy. They were talking about this fog. I wonder if she lives up in the forest. I waited for Elmer to be back into his office the next day as he was getting yelled at. So he ended up sending me on a side quest to destroy all of his paperwork, which had some very, very interesting names. I threw everything away for him, but I felt like part of me should have kept it, but he gave me the permit anyways. I headed back to Derek and paid for the expansion, and he informed me that the expansion will be ready the next day, so I had to wait. I went to go check out the expansion, but Miss Anderson was waiting for me. She wasn't too thrilled about me expanding into the tea shop, but discountee was huge. I went to go tell her about everything, and she wants me to lay low because the people of Blomkist weren't happy with me. The newspaper this morning did not disappoint. The entire town was certainly mad at me, and Aunt Teller didn't make it any better. But I decided to head off to work where I noticed that the biohazard van wasn't parked out front anymore. But the forest was still blocked off, and of course Aunt Teller had to come poke her nose into what I was doing. She informed me of a factory up there that I needed to get to because there's another vendor up there. And she wanted that vendor to become a part of the discountee family. She wants me to talk to Cornelius, and luckily enough for me, he came out the forest right after the cutscene. I confronted him about his article before I returned to Aunt Teller, and now she wants me to create an entire brand new discountee in an undisclosed, unsolicited area. This upgrade is going to cost 25 million shills. She sent me over to the bank to get a loan from Derek. And as I told him my plan, he literally laughed in my face. He told me that discountee isn't even a real supermarket, and if we expect to get this loan from him, we will need to prove ourselves as a real supermarket. We will need to operate as a real supermarket, otherwise we aren't getting nada. Afterwards, I decided to head home when a strange shadowy figure stopped me. This person threatened me, then stormed off, walking straight underneath a street lamp. I still couldn't see who it was, even though they were in the lights. I decided to carry on about my day and try to go hang up some posters when I discovered that the staircase still hadn't been fixed. I went to go confront Elmer about the situation and decided that he was no help to me, so I was gonna ask Guy. When talking with Guy, he told me he had a delivery up in the forest, so I asked him if I could tag along, and he agreed as long as I go in the bed of his truck. He also informed me that Gina can fix the staircase. After work, I found him and got ready to go in his van when here comes none other than Mrs. Anderson trying to ruin my plans. As she left, I hopped into the back of the truck and went to go talk to Tammy, but Elmer was there. After they got done talking, I went to go tell Tammy about my business, and I'm not sure how she feels about it. Tammy found me and told me that she liked this county. She gave me some constructive feedback about destroying the John Key house. Little does she know, we already want to expand. I headed to the bank to tell Derek that we completed one of his tasks. Then I went up to Tammy in the forest to start our vendor licensing. She gave me toothpaste to sell as our first one. I received this letter in the mail telling me that I need to go speak with Elmer because I have some unpermitted construction in this county. But earlier on, Grace actually informed me that I should build a basement because she always felt like we needed more space, and for some reason, I listened to her and now I'm in trouble. Anyways, I go to talk to Elmer, but it's Elmer. So I literally walked all over him and I'm keeping my basement and he had nothing else to say to me. I went up to the farm to get some more oats from Carl when he told me that his favorite sheep had been kidnapped. The first thing I did was run straight into the forest looking for this sheep, and I found it near some summoning circle. Like, was it about to be sacrificed or was it the one summoning? I returned to Carl to tell him I found his sheep. He proceeds to ask me to help him with culling season and that he wants to roast all of his sheep besides Floofles. I thought this was funny, so I decided to go ask his ex-wife Hilda what was up. And she told me I should just mark all of the sheep, including Fluffles, because Fluffles isn't as special as Carl is making it seem. The next day, I went to Carl's farm and tagged up all his sheep, including Fluffles. He wasn't happy at all, but he realized how hypocritical he sounded, and I ended up unlocking his second trade deal, which was sheep's cheese. I came to chat with Fisher at his boat, but he seemed to be missing. No one can find him, even Barbara was confused. I went up to ask Hilda and she told me that I should ask Carl because Carl and Fisher were supposed to have a meetup, but Fisher wasn't there. So I went up to go ask Carl and he gave me the secret sauce to get Fisher to come out of his home. I knocked 3 times on Fisher's door and lo and behold, Fisher opened it up. Apparently he's watching some show, so he's fine. Like, the people were worried about nothing, but they had their concerns, which they were right to do so. But then I got tasked with cleaning Fisher's boat every single day until he comes back. Why is that my problem? I went up to go speak with Tammy about discussing our trade deal when she informed me that Barbara is stalking her. She wants me to follow Barbara around the forest to see what she's up to. So I waited until 7 when Barbara would show up. I followed her for some time and then she caught me. I told her about Tammy and she just thought I was being funny, but she claims she isn't spying on Tammy, which I'm not sure if I believe Barbara or not. I went back to Tammy and told her that she was losing her mind and Barbara wasn't spying on her, but she didn't believe me. And you know what? I didn't believe Barbara, so whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I upgraded that trade deal to level 2, baby, and that's all I really care about. This county to the moon is what we are doing. The next morning, I went to go clean Fisher's boat as I have been doing, and guess what? He was outside happier than ever, singing his songs, just going on about his day. And you know, he told me he's caught so much salmon that we are allowed to sell it at this county. I've officially upgraded mine and Fisher's trade deal to level 2. That's back-to-back businesses, baby. This county is going up, 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 and they cannot stop us. I officially had every trade deal at level 2. It was time for me to go tell Derek and rub it in his smug face that this county is a real supermarket. There was still one more thing I had to do, and that was become profitable as a supermarket. So it was time to upgrade my scanner. I bought this little scanner and it's supposed to make checking out customers way faster. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a few seconds to get it, but honestly, once I understood it, I was flying by checking people out. Left, right, front, and center. People were in and out of this county in no time, making record sales. Apparently the water is turning green at the harbor, but I didn't care. I wanted to save up 8,000 shills to give to Derek at the bank. We can worry about that little water later. I was so excited about having the money, I ran over to Derek and told him that his little competition, his little tasks were no match for me. This county is going up. When he informed me that I finished all my tasks, he had one more ball to drop on me. Apparently, I needed a coworker.
Now, we all saw how useful Grace was. A coworker would just slow me down. I don't need that. I ran to Aunt Teller to tell her that the bank was refusing to give me the loan because we didn't have an employee. She informed me that Grace would not be coming back because she's too expensive, and I feel so relieved. Moments later, Derek comes find me and tells me that his son Chester would be needing a job. So that was his whole plan, huh? Not to give me my loan because his son was being bad. Okay. I went to go find Chester to tell him what his dad said, but he was terrorizing Elmer for the 100th time. I told him to come work with me at Discounty, and this little guy set up a lemonade stand right in front of my store. What are you doing, kid? I had to take matters into my own hands by sabotaging this boy's sales. I ended up adding a soda and an egg because I misclicked and I was only supposed to add the egg, but you know. Anyways, Miss Anderson comes to drink this garbage, but you know what? I wouldn't even be mad if Miss Anderson drank it, but that old bat ran away. But here comes Elmer, and he drank it. He was not pleased at the nasty taste that endured his mouth. Then Mother of the Year Tammy stepped in and commanded Chester to start working at the store and stop poisoning the customers and damaging Discounty's reputation. To my shock, Chester actually showed up. I informed his dad that I have an official employee working with me at Discounty, and he gave me the loan agreement. Ayy! So I went to go tell Aunt Teller, and she was so excited to start construction. She actually told me that she wants to destroy the John Key house because I'm the best of the best. You know what? I'm all for destroying that old house. It looks creepy and haunted, so we don't need it next to our amazing supermarket. I went inside to look at the shop, and it was massive, and Chester was actually in there working, doing his job, stocking shelves, way more useful than Grace ever was. Aunt Teller must have been so excited to destroy the John Key house because there's a massive bulldozer parked in front. I went to work as normal, and everything seemed fine until the moment I left when there was a giant riot outside of Discounty. The same people who were shopping there that day are now the ones boycotting it. Make that make sense. Miss Anderson must really hate me because she's the one leading this entire boycott. But I just went home and went to bed hoping that all of this would just blow over in the morning. But Aunt Teller informed me that they are still there. The construction is being placed on pause until we can sort out the issues. I worked the next couple of days as normal, but my customers dropped in half and my profits plummeted. I haven't even seen Chester. He must have quit on me. It wasn't until day 3 when the store was visited by a certain somebody. Miss Anderson. What is that old bat doing here? She protested against my store and now she's stopping in my store? She seems to be lost and confused. She purchased way more than just a few things. After I got off work, Miss Anderson was outside the building still screaming and hollering, but this time with her demand. She wanted me to finally start looking into the environmental issues because she says that it's my fault, and it can't be my fault. I just run a little grocery store. But I have to donate 15,000 shills, figure out what happened to the sea, what happened with the water supply, and why the fog is in the forest. So the first thing I decided to set off on was figuring out what happened with the Green Sea, which took us into chapter 3 of the game. The newspaper this morning was really showcasing me my failure about the protesters winning, but nonetheless, it was time for me to set on my journey to fix the town again. I went around the town asking which of the townies knew about the harbor, but none of them could really give me a solid answer, especially Miss Anderson. She was kind of rude. So it was time for me to take matters into my own hands and actually head to the harbor to see what the commotion was all about. As I came to the pier and I was waiting for something to happen, it didn't appear anything was going to happen. But just when I was about to give up, green gloop splurges from the pipe, and I'm wondering, what the heck is this? And of course, here comes a mystery person. They don't want to reveal themselves, but they did give me some valuable information, so let's go confront Barbara. The next morning, I went to confront her right away, but she was so scared about it, and she told me to come back during her business hours, so that's what I did. I waited for her. I waited till she was ready, and right at 7 a.m., I confronted her. She admitted that it was her pipe, and if I wanted to save the planet so bad, I now have to get rid of her waste. But with that being said, I unlocked her final trade deal, which was pickles. It was time to talk to Miss Anderson and tell her that I finished one of her tasks,
and to give me the next task. The task that I chose was to figure out what happened with the water supply in the forest. I went to go ask Elmer what he knew about the water contamination, and he simply told me to ask Tammy since she lives up there. So I went up there to ask her what's up with the water. She instantly got mad. She started yelling at me like crazy, telling me she has nothing to do with it. And then I unlocked her third and final trade deal, which is bottled water. Does that or does that not seem suspicious? When I was leaving Tammy in the forest, the fog was so thick, I couldn't even see the farm from where I was at. So I stopped at the river trying to figure out how the water even turned pink. Then I noticed something. At Carl's farm, he had a big silo filled with pink fertilizer. Has this fertilizer always been pink? Let's go ask Carl and see what he says. Coming to Carl was a big mistake. He's having a whole crisis on his farm, which I now have to fix. Like, can't I just run my store in peace? Carl's potatoes are cursed. He's claiming a niece struck his farm. This seems to be Solruna's doing. In order to fix Carl's farm, I need to get an apple from Solruna. So let's go confront her instead about why she set Carl up for failure. Let's just jump straight into it. Boom, she admitted it right there. Arrest her! I asked her about the infused apple and she acted so shocked that her death fertilizer didn't work. Like, girl, come on, you contaminated the entire drinking water and you're surprised your so-called fertilizer didn't work? Okay, girl, stand up. Anyways, I didn't bring her the apple because I genuinely just forgot about it when I went to go confront her. So we need to go grab that and give it to her. The next morning, I was taking Solruna the apple, but I found Barbara instead. So I asked her about the hake. She gave me a challenge to sell 10 fishy sticks in one day. And I love a good challenge, so I accepted. Right after I brought Solruna the apple, she tried to bribe me to pay her. Like, what? Girl, you're the issue. I am getting sick and tired of her. It was time for me to try Barbara's challenge. I was checking people left and right, and by the end of the night, I only sold 6 fishy sticks. You know what? Whatever. Okay, there's always tomorrow, I guess. Anyways, I go to the forest to meet Solruna. And girl, I know she's a witch, but what type of witchcraft is this? A whole seance for an apple? Like, be so for real. Another day, another shot at Barbara's challenge. But instead, 3 days have passed and I have not sold the 10 fishy sticks. It has actually gotten worse. I even sold 0 in a full day. I was heading home to go to sleep when Chester asked me about Miss Anderson. Am I supposed to be Miss Anderson's keeper? I head over to go check on her and she's stuck outside the house by some little dirt. I seen this woman walking in the same dirt over in this county. Now I'm forced to clean up the sidewalk for her. This woman is costing me my business, but here I am saving her again. I went to go find Miss Anderson the next day to give her my donation, which was 15,000 shills. 15,000. Are you hearing me? I couldn't get no discount when just 24 hours ago. Not even 24 hours ago. The night before I saved her? Yeah. Let's get away from her. It's been a whole week since Barbara challenged us to the fishy sticks. There was one point where I got to 9 fishy sticks in a day, and that still wasn't enough. So it was time to take matters into my own hands. I hung up posters for Barbara, and I even went to go buy the Poseidon booster. It was time to unlock Barbara's quest and get that hate. After an in-game week, I finally did it. I finally sold 10 fishy sticks in a day. Let's go talk to Barbara and get that hake. Now, she didn't exactly have a hake, but she did have fishy sticks mix. So let's take that to Carl. I'm sure he won't mind. I ran straight to Carl and he was so happy for me to bring the ingredients to him. He was also wondering why the hake looked like some ground up mush. And that's when I had to explain to him about Barbara and the fishy sticks, so he ran with it. He eventually told me to come back tomorrow, so I went to bed and ran over to him first thing in the morning. Carl said it was a success. The niece came and ate it up and I unlocked the final trade deal at the farm. The next morning, I found Miss Anderson and told her that I figured out the water situation. The next quest I chose was to figure out why all the fish disappeared. The first person I went to go talk to was Elmer, and he seemed to not be able to help me at all. So I headed down to the dock where I overheard a conversation between Elmer and Fisher. Wasn't Elmer just in his office? Fisher's fishing license was revoked, so he can't fish anymore. This was unacceptable to me, so I went and found Elmer and confronted him again. Somehow, he's back in his office. Elmer tried not to talk to me, but I pushed back. I wasn't going to leave this office until I found out what happened with Fisher's license. Elmer was like, it's the city council's doing, but we all know that was hogwash. He ended up whispering in my ear to saying to check the other person who stays at the dock, aka Barbara. I ran to Fisher as soon as I found out that new information. I told him that Barbara is the reason behind his license getting taken away, and he told me not to get involved with the family. That family is dangerous, and he will find something else to do besides fishing. I will not stand for this. His literal name is Fisher. Imagine him doing anything else. It makes no sense. So let's go confront Barbara. You will never believe Barbara. She wants me to do another challenge. Didn't it just take me over a week to get her challenge done last time? She wants me to sell more fishy sticks than the bony herrings, which that sounds easy enough, right? It was time to open the store, trying out Barbara's challenge. I didn't change anything about the store. I didn't put out more bony herrings and I didn't put out any extra fishy sticks. Could I do it in one day without anything? Well, the answer is yes. We did it first day. How exciting. Let's return to Barbara and see what she has to say. After returning to Barbara, she told me she actually already instated Fisher's license and that she was just playing a game with me. So she likes wasting my time. She could have just did it from the beginning. Anyways, Fisher came over to us and he was not pleased with our conversation. He's actually quite mad at me, so we need to go apologize to him before it's too late. I quickly apologized to Fisher, but he wasn't having it. He's given up on fishing pretty much forever. He's gonna buy the auctioning, and you know what? Good on him. This allowed me to unlock his third and final trade deal. Since Fisher was my final trade deal, it was time to return to Miss Anderson and get the next task. This time, we are figuring out about the fog in the forest. We know somebody who lives up in the forest, so let's go talk to them first. And she's mad at me. Yeah, we came to visit Tammy and she's mad at me about an apple. Girl, we have bigger things on our hands than to worry about a little apple. After she was done yelling at me, I finally got a chance to ask her about the fog. She told me that the council already did their investigation and that she's clear and that everything's good, but she doesn't want to show me the report because it's confidential. So now I have to go talk to Elmer, and Elmer is the worst. Of course he's sick. Basically, Elmer has been getting stepped on, well, forever. He's never been up, if you will. He's always been the bottom of the barrel and people take advantage of him. So now that he's dying, he feels like it's time for him to stand up for himself. Elmer is genuinely fed up. He officially quit his job in front of me, which doesn't mean anything to me, but he's given me the task to give him some cardboard and an old desk. Let's see what he does with it. So what's funny about me is I actually hold on to things because I didn't know I could actually throw the shelves away till later on. But I actually had everything I needed and I returned to Elmer with everything. I quickly returned to Elmer with all the items he requested. Then I quickly went home to skip the day and find Elmer the next morning. The next morning I was pleasantly surprised to see Elmer outside moving around. He actually did it. He actually stood up for himself and actually lit his fireplace. The bird is no longer clogging his chimney. After helping Elmer, he agreed to help me, and he told me to come by the statue. After getting done talking with Elmer, I honestly went straight to the statue. I didn't waste no time because I was ready to see what Tammy was hiding. Elmer was nice enough to open the secret entrance into Tammy's factory. I climbed in and I was able to crawl my way all the way inside to see what she was hiding. It's a little bit creepy in here. It definitely gives Tammy vibes, but look at it. The papers just sitting on the desk, open for all of us to see, which is a little bit weird if you ask me, considering didn't this happen a while ago? But I digress. It's time to actually look through all the pages and figure out, does Tammy cause the fog in the forest? No. The simple answer being no. Tammy, the one who we all thought was the evilest person in the whole game, is actually not the culprit of the fog in the forest. The fog simply comes from overconsumption in Blomkest. With the increased production of fishing, farming, everything you can think of, overconsumption is a simple thing that is killing Blomkest. It's time to find Miss Anderson and let her know what we found and suspected all along. Mrs. Anderson, waiting outside of our house, just walking by, waiting for me to tell her the great news. As I informed her, she really didn't seem that excited at all. So tomorrow, we will have a town's meeting. Let's see what the people have to say. As I wake up the next morning to gather my thoughts for the town meeting, I am approached by the shadowy figure themselves once again. They state that they need Tammy to be gone and that she actually is the worst person in the whole wide world, even though Tammy is seriously the only person who's clean out of this whole mess. I came to work my final day at this county before heading towards the town meeting. Once at the town meeting, it was stated that I bring forth all the information that I found out about why the town of Blomkest is going under. As the people of Blomkest waited for me to say whose fault it was, and as everyone wanted me to say it was Tammy's fault, I couldn't do that. I sat up here and I exposed everybody. I exposed Fisher, I exposed Barbara, and I exposed Carl. Nobody was getting away from me. Everybody had something to do with it. With all that being said, people are still wondering if Tammy is at fault. Tammy has nothing to do with anything. They tried to turn it around on me. They wanted me to be at fault, but here comes Aunt Teller telling them that it's not my fault. It's actually her fault because she wanted the money. She was all about the money. I received my final newspaper by my front door today. A brighter Blomkest is right. And just like that, I went into town to celebrate with everyone because it was time to turn Blomkest around. And just like that, it was time to begin the festivities. We all joined around, held hands, and we sang, and we all enjoyed a big cup of lemonade. Even the sheep were there. It was all time to turn around and make Blomkest a better town. Long live Blomkest. And that's the story of how I turned a little town upside down on its head. The power of a simple grocery store. I actually really enjoyed playing this game. It really only allows you to do the evil route, and although in real life I'm not evil, I love to be evil in video games. So this touched a nice spot in my heart. If you watched the video this far, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.